So yeah, we've got a simple tip in Fusion 360 today. It's around like moving and aligning bodies. So I've used 3ds Max a lot in the past, and I quite like working with the meshes and the align tool and constraining it to an axis, all that kind of thing when you're trying to move things. But in Fusion, I just couldn't really seem to work out how to do it. Not much online or in web tutorials that I could find. So anyway, here's a simple way of moving bodies and aligning them without even to use the align tool. So let's say I want to move this red thing to this grey thing. So if I click on it, click move, select bodies, select our pivot point. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Select a pivot, and then you can obviously constrain it to one axis, so it only moves like that by clicking these arrows. We're obviously in the free move bit here, which is cool. But you can then also move it at this point. So if you then click an extent on this, an area on this body or an end point, it'll move it in X to that end point, or can move that one, and it moves to that point. So the pivot on the body you've selected will move to wherever you select a point on one of these bodies. And notice if I select it up at the top, it constrains it in X. Down the bottom, it's still constrained in X. If I change it to Y and then click the top, if I can, oh yeah, so this is the interesting point. So you'll try and do it and it won't work the first time because you've got to have moved it a little bit. And as soon as you've moved it, you can select a point, he says. Let me do that again. It's because we've got two bodies selected. Yep, so let's just select. So we'll go select the pivot point. It won't align vertically to any of these spaces at the moment, because what it'll do, it'll pick the second body. So you select the pivot, the body you want to move, define where the pivot point is. You then have to move it just a little bit in the axis that you want to move it. And now if you select points, you see, it aligns it to that pivot point to wherever you've selected, like that, constrained in Y direction. So if you want to carry on and do it back in X again, so you'd have to click X. If you click somewhere in here, can you see how it immediately wants to select it, and it'll go to a second select body? So we have to move it a bit first. Now it won't do as a select, and it'll move as you want it. So yeah, pretty useful tip for quickly moving bodies. I'd have been faffing around using align in here somewhere. Yeah, it's just it just seemed really awkward, and I just stumbled on it the other day. So hopefully you find it useful. Subscribe, and there's lots of other things on my channel around CAD and 3D printing. And see you soon.